RNG. And likely the brand. Gedju didn't have a bad game on it, by any means. Just wasn't necessarily able to have the full-blown impact you would have liked to have seen from him. Lily as well. He's still got options, right? Kind of depends on what they want to land on. But very curious opening from EDG, who at this time out, they did remove away that Twisted Fate, so that is kind of the adaptation they're leaning into right now.
Yeah, similar bans, not quite the same, but that Twisted Fate gone away from Juice, so we'll see how RNG change things up. Obviously, they are the ones with the Tristana this time, where Cryan had that previously, and was using and abusing the fact that Tristana's so safe in a side lane, pushing really far up and getting away with it a lot of the time there. Looks like Leave is going to stick with the Misfortune, though. Again, this Gnar Misfortune combination, wanting that big 5v5 wombo combo.
Yeah, it seems to be that's what EDG are looking into. Number one and game number two. The only thing that's changed is J-Focus, and it will be that Zyra first off.
Not that surprising after that first game, after the very early Baron, after the ridiculously fast early clears that we saw, where JJ was literally arriving at Raptors waiting for it to spawn because he was clearing the jungle so fast. So I think the Zyra, a pretty fair ban. On the other side, Braum, for anyone that hasn't seen Misfortune in professional play, Braum just ruins everything. He just stands there with his door and completely blocks the ultimate. So I think a very fair ban.
Is. Let's see now what RNG want. Karthus, Lilia, JJ's got a good couple of options. And can be sure to wait here by RNG, or they could go one support perhaps, and they don't want Wink on. Alistar was a pretty okay showing, all things considered. As the timer ticks. And it's frozen. And I guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll never know, maybe even. Well, that would be the case. Just probably a hard bug.
I'll have to see what comes out. Oh! Instantly, the Ziggs to follow it up, and we catch up to life. So the Lilia was taken off the board. Alistar immediately for Iwandi. Only the 80 carry remaining for RNG. On the other side, EDG have to finish off this composition. So we need something in the jungle. I mean, the Karth is still open and available if they want it.
Yeah, of course. That free damage nerf to his Q, it slows down his clear by like maybe 5 seconds, like tops. But of course, they did hover over that Maokai, and honestly, wouldn't be too bad here. Either or, right? It kind of just depends on what they want, and they do land on that Karthus eventually. And JJ's still going to have a whole bunch of tempo. He's still going to farm up like a monster. And he's going to scale into the late game and be an absolute menace as far as that damage is concerned. And now Wink, option of that counter pick, already knows that the Alistar has been slammed in there for RNG. And RNG are, you know, technically holding on to a Tristana flex, but realistically, Tristana's going to Tangyuan, so they've given Wang Feng R5. And a lot to think about. Is it just going to be Kai'Sa though? They're just going to run it back? I feel like without that Twisted Fate, without that like guaranteed kind of gold card setup that we were seeing quite consistently,
yeah,
I'd like to see a swap up from Wang Feng. And it will be the Jin, so a little bit more facilitative. Kind of setting up plays with that curtain call and with the Deadly Flourish.
And it's vintage Wang Feng as well. If you think back to Worlds 2020, it was Wang Feng that had the flanking Jinnle from enemy base underneath bot tier 2. You know, that was a different time. It feels like a long time ago now, doesn't it? But Wang Feng still very much an expert on the pick, bringing it into that Misfortune lane. Jin, a pick that can match the push of a lot of these AD carries like Misfortune that can clear the wave so efficiently. And Jin can do a good job of trying to match that, but also setting up for other carries like Tangyuan on the Tristana and the Brand.
Exactly, you already have so much front-loaded damage. Just going for a bit more utility, right? And those small bits of CC could be very, very crucial in just enabling the rest of RNG to set up onto EDG, right? A fair bit of immobility on the two main carries, and then Cryan, of course, Valkyrie. It's a small dash, all things said and done. So RNG, slightly different flavor of game number one, but a lot of the same components, right? It's just less about that dive in with the Twisted Fate and that Kai'Sa, and a little bit more about setting up from range with the Jin and kind of trying to allow K'Sante to frontline. Whilst the EDG kind of sort things up. Another carry jungler this time inside of the Karthus. Kind of see how aggressive around those objectives he's willing to get. Because with Zyra, it's very easy. With Karthus, you have to rely on those lanes just a little bit more.
Yes, you do. You do indeed. We'll see if he can get aggressive, if he can get an advantage against this Brand. Once again, different pick for him. I'm looking towards the Misfortune Rakan combo, though, in those team fights. A lot of team play available for EDG. Let's see if they can make it happen twice.
Maybe they just walked back in. A little bit sleepy. Game 1 was long after all.
Wink having to start with that W.
Benefit of doubt.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded starting with the Q. But I guess against Alistair, having the threat of the W is not too bad anyway. And be able to potentially counter the engage. I say counter the engage, not like Alistair really has engage at level 1, let's be honest. But actually, Alistair getting an advantage 4 lane at level 1 is a big deal, because it means you can potentially get push, threaten the level 2, and you kind of skip the biggest weakness of Alistair, which is that first wave.
Yeah, I think classic saying always is, level 1, Alistair's not a champion. Level 2, he's basically a champion, but he's just missing one ability, right? And then, of course, the treble comes in level 3. So we'll see what advantage RNG can look to find, sending Wink back, and just kind of glancing over the minimap, it does look like RNG have control over that first wave. Let's see how far that control goes.
And just to remind everyone at home, in case you missed this first game, we are on 14.13. We are on the live patch here in the LPL. We skipped 14.12, we jumped straight into 14.13. Fearless is gone. We're in the Rumble stage. This is the Nirvana group. EDG and RNG would love to make an impression as level 2 hit on both bot lanes, and iWandi ignited, flashes away, the follow-up comes through, and EDG 2v2 the bot side of RNG.
Yeah, that last tick of Ignite is what gets Wink that kill. Leave, unfortunately, has it stolen away from him. Not really his fault, Wink. But they still win out the 2v2, and that's huge pressure. Gonna be one out, and, you know, we spoke about objectives and how important the laners would be for JJ. And this bottom side's getting off to a good start for him. Level 2 hit. Pretty much. Just that 1 minion sooner. By the time things kick off, it just doesn't give iWandi a favorable in, and that auto attack comes through from Leave, but it's that Ignite tick that gives it over to Wink.
Yeah.
But priority is fully earned now down here in the bottom side for EDG, and they'll continue to try and hold it, I imagine, for a little while.
Yeah, the bonus damage on that Q from Leave, as iWandi was just within the cone for it to bounce. It kills the minion bounces, it means it does extra damage. So iWandi taking a big chunk that I don't think he expected to take there, and it means that he's caught out of position. Ward will be cleared. Is JJ looking towards the Scuttle Crab. He's finished his clear. Gedju on the bottom side of the map as well, and Tangyuan's moving over, but all in on the bottom side. iWandi forced away once again. He will survive this time around. JJ dodges the route as well, but the Crab in a really favorable spot for Gedju, but no, walks straight past him, and suddenly it's into JJ's arms. Who's going to get the smite? It's Gedju that grabs it in the end, looking for the stun now, as JJ tries to escape, dodges the route. Follow-up is there. Gedju wide on the stun in the end, and now a knock-up onto Tangyuan. His Leaf tries to get underneath the tower. JJ low on HP, but does survive. And in the meantime, Crane got a reset off.
Crane just said, you guys have fun with all that noise.
I'll go back mid.
Yeah, I'm staying mid, baby. I mean, first and foremost, someone get that Skull Crab a contract. I don't care who he goes to. He just was not willing to die. It's Gedju that gets it in the end. But it dodged out on like 4 abilities or something really ridiculous like that. That will get a replay of that skirmish, but neither side is able to draw blood in the actual exchange. A couple of summoner spells blown though. That's just about it, really. All that for a Skull Crab, and EDG just looking to maintain pressure down there on that bottom side.
I just can't believe no one died. 4v3 for that long in the river, and nobody goes down. As Cryan will find himself a CS advantage. It doesn't look like it now, but that's a big old minion wave that he's going to slowly sweep up for himself. JJ not taking any chances on that one. Finishes it off.
I love
with
that little
the
zoom in from the observers, because they're like,
can he finish it?
Is this one going to dodge it? Is he going to be able to finish off this Skull Crab? Find out next time. That was, yeah, Jugglers will just return to full clears. Gedju actually does have a little bit of a tempo advantage, and I think that's a stacked wave down there on bot. And iWandi's here on this mid wave to help Tangyuan shove out, so I wonder whether or not this is kind of an attempt at a dragon setup, but seems like the answer is probably no.
That almost sounds like accidental flame. Is this an attempt at dragon setup? Tangyuan just buffers the engage, but move goes down anyway. And Ignite comes in. It won't be quite enough as Tangyuan walks away with his life. Leave now alone in the bottom side. Perhaps a chance at playing down there for the side of RNG, but it doesn't look like any triggers will be pulled. Good respect from Leave to stay away.
Yeah, the tone was more because Geju was on walls instead of walking into the river with that much control. But yeah, as we see there in that mid lane, Tangyuan is forced to flash and could be a vulnerable target to another Wink roam later on, but of course so difficult normally to lock down that Tristana. The rocket jump buffer as well. Very, very hard to outplay. Even once Wink hits level 6, there's still a timing to it you can get out of. As spoke about the early objectives, Jet playing towards that bottom side, which is heavily winning, and Geju is up on those grubs. We'll take those quite quickly, of course, as the Brandon. We're even going to get a split screen. It's not really a competition now that Tangyuan's here.
Oh, who's going to get first? Who's going to get first? It doesn't matter at all. But it will be an objective trade regardless. As a plate actually goes down in the bottom side as well. We saw the reset from Huan Fong. Crying gets to the other side of Tangyuan, who wasn't level 6 just yet. Tangyuan now hitting 6 tries for the play. The flash ult, not quite in the right spot. Requiem, is it enough? Oh, 1 HP! 1 HP in a dream. Tangyuan walks away.
No way. Tangyuan is a lucky, lucky boy to be walking out of that play. That Requiem just shy. Dark Harvest as well doesn't quite push it over the edge. I think if a minion accidentally sneezed on him, he would have died.
Yeah, that was about as close as you can get, I think.
Yeah, Geju comes in and he steals this blue buff away on the back end of that play. And as you mentioned, it was basically as close as it could have really been. We'll get a replay and probably confirmation on what Tangyuan's HP was exactly. He's looking for the insect here as he ticks over to level 6 right now. He tries to find the angle. Flash out from Cryan is great. It's fleet footwork on that last auto attack. I mean, he would have autoed it there. The Doran's auto, 13 HP. I mean, yeah, between the fleet and that one auto attack, he probably did keep himself alive. Genuinely, through a little bit of life still. So very fortunate there.
Yeah, about as close as you could physically get on a play like that. Yeah. Tangyuan gets away with it in the end. So 1-0 on the scoreboard. EDG... a bit of a lead, actually, 1,500. It feels like the laning phase is going much better for EDG than it did in game number 1, right? We've got 500 gold lead in AD carry and in mid. Top basically even. Jungle ever so slightly behind, but Wink is soaring ahead with a 700 gold lead in the support role. But that first Drake already taken. Second group's coming up in 2 minutes. Is Crying just taking it to Tangyuan. Happy to take these trades.
Wanted to throw that big one out and connect on the back end of the trade, but doesn't quite find it. A bit of retribution for a blue buff still. Will JJ get it? No, he will not. He'll go over to Geju, so won't find that one back. And a lot of the root of that gold lead has been because of, you know, how that bottom lane played out. Because of that level 2, right? It's all kind of a rolling domino effect. JJ is able to get, you know, favorable timing down there with more members for EDG there first. Cryan then, of course, gets alone time, which is kind of then... given him this gold lead because Tangyuan looked for the roam down there on that bottom side plate. So it's all of these small things beginning to add up.
Comes through, but unfortunately for Huan Fong, JJ already got himself out of dodge, and in the meantime, Tangyuan so low in the mid lane, just has to rocket jump away. Crying, really getting the best of this matchup. It's not often that you see this matchup be quite as one-sided as this, but I mean, he's 30 CS up, crashing another wave. No TP for Tangyuan. This is a monumental lead in the mid lane for EDG.
Yeah, and it does kind of make you ponder the question how long it's going to take for Tangyuan to recover. If he ever does, right? He's almost a full level down. More than actually. Cryan's almost level 9. Tangyuan's not even more than 3/4 of the way to level 8. So, to say monumental, you're almost underselling it in some ways, really. That is a big, big lead for a 10-minute timer.
And especially when the Triforce comes in, right? It's such a huge spike for the core here. Like, Tangyuan is in serious threat. And that was one of the big conversations we had in the previous game, was how much of a problem the Tristana was in the side lane from Cryan. Well, this time around, on the other side of the matchup, he's still the one getting ahead. He's still the one finding an advantage. Great stuff from him. A lot of people really praising Wink when he came over from IG. Cryan not really getting as much of the limelight out of that IG EDG trade, but... showing up here today, Decent in the first game, really, really solid laning in the second.
Exactly. Doing a really good job so far. See that trend continue. Valkyrie looked comically short, but just getting away from my 1D, it does the job.
It's long enough. That's all that counts. Wink does have to flash to get himself out to safety. W dodged. Huanfeng struggling to find these deadly flourishes. Solo kill finally finds an ult, but doesn't even get a stun out of it. And suddenly he's Mininar trying to escape instead. Juice TP'd into the play, but won't be able to close the gap. It's just both teams kind of looking at each other menacingly. That's the rocket jump. Bullet time comes through, but the buster shot will deny Leaf's kill.
All right, well, when all is said and done, my dear friend, RNG will be getting some scraps. So let's see whether that is the band-aid to fix Tang Yuang's deficit. If they could finally get RNG's mid laner onto a side lane in a bit more of a comfortable position. He's kind of been forced out by Leaf there. He's now on the top side alongside Juice and the rest of the team. Maybe looking for as many places they can get, right? And even scraping back some of this gold, shared or not, is going to be a huge deal. And they're also just giving up this second dragon, right? So with 6 grubs, realistically, there should be the whole tower. Leaf's getting solar plates down here on the bottom side, so that's also something to consider for the extended trade, right?
Yeah.
Misfortune getting super strong as Huanfeng is going to find himself on the end of a trade from Cryan, but no more mana, no more big rockets. Yeah, not the worst in the world.
I will say, while this tower goes down on the top side, we already saw Leaf taking the tower in the bottom lane as well. Misfortune pretty quick at taking towers while there's a minion wave there, because you get your passive each time, and you can reset the cooldown on your W, so you get the attack speed. The second minions aren't there, you're slow as hell.
Hey,
Misfortune is useless at taking towers without a minion wave. There, engaging the mid lane from I1D, but Cryan not going to be under too much threat here. He'll just continue to push that one away. Juice has arrived though, and the tower will survive.
Yeah, throw fall down, so RNG get a pretty good gold trade. There's a teleport's coming out onto Geju. He has no flash, remember.
Is there an angle here?
No, there is not an angle. He's just going to walk out. Loiter out, actually, zombie brand.
I don't think loiter means what you think it means.
It's when you just stand around, though, loitering.
Yeah, but he was leaving, so he's obviously not loitering.
Well, okay, all right.
You can't loiter out of somewhere. You either loiter or you go out.
You're right. No, you're right. You're right. I was trying to find. It doesn't matter. Either way.
Okay, 3 places at the bottom side for RNG.
Leave my ability to speak English alone.
The solo kill loiters his way into that bottom lane. Yeah, it's been an intense early game, hasn't it? 1 kill in 14 minutes as Tang Yuan jumps back in. Wink finds a knock up onto I1D, but that's all he'll find. And I feel like, I'm gonna be honest, right? I was cautiously optimistic about EDG coming into the Rumble stage. RNG had these roster changes coming in today. Both teams feel a little bit toothless.
This game number 2, definitely. And like you said, I think I've watched more riveting early games than this one. But
it's not saying a lot, is it?
No, gold lead, specifically Tang Yuan. At one point was down like 1.2k gold, and with these 6 grubs, they're just moving him around, right? Getting all of these numbers. They're giving up objectives, yes, but they're just trading gold for it. So for now, they don't mind, and they're just utilizing the grub buff.
And they have actually gained themselves, well, they've got themselves even in gold, which compared to the almost 2,000 gold lead that we saw earlier in favor of EDG, definitely positive for RNG. Getting a tier 2 this early on in the game as well is fantastic for them in the side lane. It's a huge amount of gold. Perhaps Herald could go straight up to the top lane to try and trade that, but I don't think that's going to be the play for EDG here. So all things considered, I'd say a very positive trade for RNG, getting themselves back within touching distance.
Yeah, exactly. That's the important thing. But now as items start to be completed, core and important levels as well being crested on, Triforce was just picked up by Cryan. And that is a huge spike, as we saw from game number 1 on the core key. And it's going to be Malignance on this Karthus, actually. It's not going to be the Black Fire Torch, which we were seeing a lot from some of the Karthuses once the item came out. Of course, Black Fire Torch in general just a broken as hell item. Replace Malignance, but it will be that item choice left JJ. So having that armor up, just a little bit more free
to finish the objective. One auto. Wasn't quite enough, but they just turn on to Juice instead. Iwandi starts the fight, and they find an angle on Solo Kill, but the charm comes on through, and suddenly Solo Kill almost survives. He still went down, though. Iwandi hunting for more as Crying is flicked back. Juice, the hero of the play, as he turns it around in RNG's favor. Tanguyen has now TP'd behind enemy lines here, but not for a play onto the players. Instead, looking towards potentially an inhib tower.
Yeah, Wave is a little bit far away from him, though, so rotation into mid lane, perhaps, just to put more pressure down onto EDG. Probably do wonders. Not sure if he's sorting out that control ward
That's
or
a
not.
weird TP. That's a really weird TP.
It's strange. I think he was expecting EDG to retreat, you know, through the lane as curtain call.
Curtain call flies on through. Leave trying to clear the wave, but the curtain call is enough to stop him ulting and secure the tier 1 in the mid lane for RNG. So all things considered, again, a massively positive play for RNG. EDG, they got the lead again, and once again, RNG seemed to stop the bleeding in the mid game and find ways to answer what EDG are doing.
Yeah, and they might even be rewarded here with a dragon, because I don't really feel like EDG, with this particular setup, want to walk in at all. So this is a pickup to stop that stacking. And I really just have to commend RNG as a whole, right? They picked up those 6 scrubs with Geju early on, and they've just been rotating around as a unit, picking up all these structures. I love the utilization to just get them off the map, as unfortunately Solo Kill, I think just barely that last tick doesn't get Mega Nart, can't delay the play. And I think, yeah, teleport obviously looks a little strange. I think he was looking for Wink, if Wink was going to go, you know, the scenic route, I guess. But yeah, good play from RNG to punish EDG, who kind of got into a bit of a rhythm, right? They were probably not expecting this many numbers here, perhaps, because RNG had been trading so happily across the map with these structures.
Nice bit of play from Juice there to team up with Iwandi. Iwandi gets the initial engage, and then Juice following up on the CC, chaining that with the all-out onto Solo Kill. Managing to make that pick happen. Then the flash for the Q3 as well. I've been quietly impressed by Juice since his entrance into this RNG roster. I think he's one of the players I'm more optimistic about, honestly, within this roster. So good stuff from him on the Cassante. We've seen him on carries, we've seen him on tanks. I'm excited. I'll be watching this player's career with great anticipation.
Great interest.
Yeah, that's it. I'm bugging it again.
You've got, look, you'll get it. I'm sure, like, next, you know, look, we've got AL, right? AL are trying to make a Worlds run. We saw how well that went the last time in summer when they did have a fighting chance. I think it was 2022, right? That iteration went fairly far. Couldn't quite cross the mark in the end. You'll get another chance, Joe. That's basically what I'm saying. You will get the quote right.
The opportunity for redemption. Are you saying that you'll be watching my career in using this quote with great interest?
With great interest.
Is that where we're going with this?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh dear. It's been a quiet one, hasn't it, this game? 2-1 on the scoreboard. But
it's been a game of chess.
Yeah, and to be fair, I'm quite excited by that fact because RNG, we came in saying, look, they're big underdogs. Maybe they could just cause chaos and that'll be a way to challenge EDG. But no, they've kind of been challenging EDG at their own game. EDG winning out that first game, but it really was by the skin of their teeth. JJ engaged upon by Iwandi. I'm not sure I've seen a single hit from Hwangfong this game. Juice just dashes out of the play.
All right, well, yeah, sure. I mean, everyone's disengaged. There is a lot of things onto this Baron.
I'm just excited for the second series, you know.
Yeah. Well, so RNG apparently. They're starting up this Baron 20 minutes on the dot. Teleports are coming down as well. Requiem before the play just to chunk out some of these members too.
Yeah, trying to get that chunk, but the Baron is still just burning on through. Iwandi tanking in the meantime. 3K in the pit. Iwandi buying space the ball and time in. RNG do get the Baron, a solo kill. Sets up one. Hwangfong the next target as Geju gets over the wall, but Crying chasing through. Double slow from solo kill. The follow-up from Crying as Juice tries to turn it around, but he just ain't that tanky yet in this game. And EDG, they do punish 3 kills for the Baron.
I mean, honestly, RNG are lucky to walk out with anyone having that Baron buff, given how the setup was going. Jejet just, of course, come back from base, so RNG get themselves a Baron. And even though they're currently in a negative Baron power play, and Leave might just about get this tower for free. let's see exactly what damage RNG can do to the remaining structures outside the base and whether or not they can actually find themselves a siege between Huangfeng and Geju, who should always be together. Get a look at the play, though, as, of course, again, remember JJ in base, coming back right now. Knows his only contribution can be that ultimate. Iwandi does what he can to kind of interrupt any engage, stops the bullet time, forces leave, or more aptly, I think mind controls leave to rage flash over the wall and get the rest of the chase down as Juice kind of sacrifices his life, does prevent Crying from finding a chase down onto more members and keeps one extra cape available on this Baron buff with RNG.
I mean, Iwandi did about all he could in that fight, didn't he? But there's only so much you can do when you're all chunked out by the Requiem. I mean, the fact that JJ was basically not a part of that play, and he was still the third highest damage on the team, just blasted it all across the entire enemy team. He's finished that Leandri's now as well. Although Geju getting close to his third item at this point. But the Seeker's arm guard will be a little bit more difficult to take down. Drake up in 10 seconds, and RNG the ones in control right now.
Yeah, rotate in quite easily here. Someone needs to give Juice a ride out, or he's going to lose a bit of his health. But yeah, I mean, Dragon's tied up. EDG, they're not really in a good angle. Solo Kill's looking for the wraparound, but he's a little bit away from Mega.
That's 2 objectives in a row for RNG. Solo Kill looks for the ultimate. Requiem comes in, Geju the target, he goes down. Iwandi will fall shortly as well. 2 for EDG and trade for the Drake. And I mean, they are getting these kills, they're getting more gold, but they're losing all of the objectives.
Yeah, EDG, it's going to be a little bit frustrating for them, really, in many ways. They are getting a lot of gold off the back of them. RNG deny 2 dragons away. And there's a lot of carries on both sides, right? These Infernal Dragons will start to stack up an amount. Yeah. It's a fair bit of extra damage on the cards here for RNG. Out of Huangfeng, out of Tangyuan, and out of Geju specifically. And it's been pretty difficult for EDG to get onto those targets, like, in a meaningful manner when RNG aren't throwing their body for a play, right? Like, it's taken quite a bit.
I will say the Infernal Soul, if RNG can continue to stack them, is a bit of a miracle with how far behind Huangfeng is. I don't think I've seen him really do much of anything this game. He's 2,000 gold down. He's finally finished his second item here. It doesn't feel like these skill shots have been particularly hitting their mark, but the damage from Jin, if you are behind in the game as well, can feel really lackluster. Those Infernal Drakes will certainly help him out. Perhaps give him an opportunity to start influencing these fights in a bit more significant of a way.
Yeah, and of course his damage scales so differently to so many other AD carries as well, just because of all of the number conversions under the hood. Juice looking onto Cryan. He's got Geju a whiles away. He's got a teleport here for Tangyuan.
Oh, the flash for the slow, and then goes for the all-out as well. Juice making the play happen. Cryan was caught out in the side lanes in the previous game, but last time he was on Tristana. You can't do the same thing on Corki.
No, you're punished so much more easily, and that's a 300 gold shutdown over to Tangyuan. And again, just, it feels like RNG throughout a lot of this game have been chasing that lead for their mid laner, right? However they can get Tangyuan back some gold after the early exchanges. They've really done a pretty good job trying to make that happen. Tier 2 on the bottom side, though, traded out. So as far as, you know, flat gold is concerned, it's practically an even trade, right? Some of that gold spread a little bit more between the EDG members, though, this time out. And again, a tower for them and just a little bit more freedom on the map. RNG, there's no objective for a little while, 90 seconds. And start to anticipate they'll set up around this top side. See if they can sneak a Baron, but actually get more members out this time.
Baron won't be up for another 70 seconds, but getting that vision down is going to be the name of the game for the time being for RNG. But I feel like we might have a quiet minute here until that Baron comes up. But with a Brand and a Karthus, if either team gets a small opportunity, they will burn through the Baron, not to mention the fact that Cryan and Leaf both on 3 items at this point in the game. Not entirely sure how Huangfeng fell quite so far behind in gold. I guess just plates or something, but and I suppose, you know, kill and assist helps, but a full tier 3 down at this point.
There was that sequence of play where RNG had 3 members top, right? They took that whole tower and leave.
Yeah.
Got to kind of get solo golden XP for a little while.
But even
lot of that.
still, like a full
Yeah,
tier
it doesn't
3
amount
item
to-
plus a BF
It doesn't amount to
sword.
a full item plus a BF sword. No, I can tell you that for free. And remember, RNG, I mean, they also got the Baron Gold, right? So
True.
even that added on, still not enough to even remotely close that gap. Even though Leave has only got tier 1 boots. Again, no matter how you slice it, such a big difference. And some of that can, I suppose, come down to some of the item costs, right? It's a slightly cheaper build, I think, off the top of my head for Leave, but even then, still massive for EDG.
Surprising to say the least. But we'll see how it continues. 4,000 gold lead for EDG, and as we've mentioned, a lot of that is in the pocket of Leave. We need to see him perform in this next fight. Baron is up, and here we go. Skill shots landing. Wink trying to escape, but the bomb is on his head.
Oh!
No! Dashes into the bullet. It's like the opposite of that film wanted. Juice TP's pretty deep on this one. Oh no, Juice, he's had such a good game for himself. Does get out, but the Requiem comes through, and Juice burning. Flash from solo kill to kill the opposite man. And suddenly it turns into an EDG favored play. Iwandi trying to escape, slowed by the rock. EDG desperate to turn this into a second win, desperate to get their first win off the Rumble stage on the board. Tang Yuan trying to find the solo kill and goes 1-for-1 with Leave.
Joe, I don't know which one of them did it, but one of them auto-attacked a minion in the middle of that. We're going to get a replay. I know the observers saw it, but it's a 1-for-1 between Tang Yuan and Leave. I think it's just going to turn into a dragon by the end of things, because EDG seemingly don't want to give up Soul Point, even though they could get the Baron here. Not willing to make any sacrifice. Geju.
Nice, Sonya's keeps himself alive. Iwandi trying to tank for him. In the meantime, the CC chain's great. Sets up for the kill onto Kryan and keeps Geju alive. He can heal up off the blue buff as well. Dragon is up. Jet is in the area. Both junglers. No, Geju doesn't have smite. Okay, it's coming up. He had one smite charge available. And looking toward for the side of RNG.
All right, that's a lot of extra damage now stacked up between those 3 Infernals. RNG, the carry specifically, really amped up despite being in some of those item deficits. That Infernal Dragon will do a pretty decent job at bridging that gap, right? We said it earlier. Now it's come to fruition. Look at this third shot here. Dash out. Kind of ends up being a dash into the bullet. Unfortunate for Wink. A teleport is just a little bit unnecessary from Juice, to be honest. At the very least, like, in this position, bullet time doesn't finish him off. The Requiem puts solo kill in a position where he can flash forward and just about walk out of his life. But let's look at this mid lane 1v1, Joe. Because one of them auto-attacked the minion. I think it was Tang Yuan. It's not that, yeah. I think Leave may have A-clicked it 3 times.
He's trying to maximize passive, right? He's trying to get his passive. Because in a 1v1, Misfortune just loses 100% of the time. If you can get the passive, you actually do more damage than if you were just autoing, I think. I guess it depends on crits.
But it just can't be right. It just can't be right.
That's fair. That's fair. I know exactly where you're coming from, yeah.
You're missing out on DPS either way. But understand the idea from Leave if that was the intent.
We need a Misfortune expert in chat to let us know if that...
We need a mathematician.
It doesn't look correct, does it? It just doesn't look correct. It doesn't feel right. I don't know. Either way, he goes down. And we just said how he has most of the gold for EDG. He has to be the one stepping up in these fights. Goes down in a 1v1 to Tang Yuan. And in the meantime, EDG start the Baron once again. Karthus does this so fast alongside that core key. RNG looking for the fighters wing, just trying to keep them at bay. 4K on the Baron. Juice goes in. That's the combo that they've been looking for. EDG finally get those ults synced up. Solo kill has gone way too deep on the backside of the fight. They're all out. Was it even an all-out for Juice? Yeah, it was. Okay. The all-out pulls him out to safety. I could see the ult icon online. EDG, though, should grab themselves the Baron off the back of this one. Get you down. No smite available. RNG, last-ditch effort. Curtain call comes on in, but the Baron is taken, and now Juice might have overstepped, trying to get back out to safety. EDG find the objective. Jet is low, but it does not matter.
Nope. Will about escape that 4th shot. Really did send JJ very close over the ball coil. Back to the respawn chamber. But they do get the play, like you said. They've been looking for that wombo combo for a little while. They finally find it. Solo kill. And of course, this misfortune, everything just comes together. And it looks very pretty, doesn't it?
Yeah,
By Brand.
I do feel like Solo Kill actually just pulled Juice out of the MF ult and set himself up into an all-out position.
Hey, it's okay. You know, sometimes it happens like that. I think Juice was path makering anyway, right? Using that W to not get displaced. So I think no matter what, he probably does end up, just because Juice just doesn't like the guy. You know, it's a top laner ego thing.
Yeah,
does drag him all the way back.
The new rivalry between Solo Kill and Juice. They're both pretty much just come into the league, but we've decided narrative-wise this will work for us.
Stories, exactly.
Well, it's certainly not been clean from either team, that has to be said. But EDG, similarly to Game 1, feel like they are slowly but surely eking out enough advantages to push themselves towards a win here. It's a minute until that Infernal Drake comes up. Ooh. Bullet time just shy of Hwangfong there. Requiem, I don't think it's enough. The shield comes in. Actually, that shield was the difference maker. It would have been enough. I take it back. My goodness, I won. He saved the day.
Yeah, he hadn't hit that. And I mean, it's very easy to not, right? As Tang Yuan as well almost loses his life on the bottom side. The EDG are just relentless in their shove across these lanes. And RNG are just crumbling. They can't really hold on right now.
This is the power of these double AD carry compositions. You take towers so effectively. That's double inhib as Infernal's Dragon is about to spawn as well. Wouldn't be surprised to see EDG just clearing this wave and then moving over towards that Dragon Pit. You do want to make sure that you guys are the first ones there without RNG being able to move in as well. Ward spots out Leave. Curtain Call comes in and Juices behind enemy lines. Leave the target. No, Solo Kill will be pulled in with the all-out. Turns Mega, though, and finds a stun. Wing follows up. The great turnaround from EDG. Leave looking for an angle, but Bullet Time's on cooldown right now, and the burn is coming through from Genji. Flashed away from, though, as Juice now gets onto Leave in the front line. The health bar's low for RNG, but they find EDG's carries. They find their angles, and RNG flipping around, crying, takes out Juice at the end, and somehow it's absolute carnage, but it's a 3-for-2.
If Cryan dies there, that could very well be the game. They had a couple of minions. They could tank through the towers, I'm almost certain. RNG find their miracle fight off of the back of effectively nothing. It was a retreat away from the siege of EDG. They get a good chase down. Now they have Soul. That's 4 Infernal Dragons stacked on top of each other. Teleport from Juice sets this whole thing up. Onto Solo Kill initially. And EDG, I mean, the turnaround is honestly really good, but it's just lacking that final bit of damage.
If Bullet Time is
Leave
up
has
there,
bullet time, yeah. That's the real difference. And then not only that, but I think there was a dash back from Wink, had that passive on him. Brings down that slow onto so many members of EDG. It just makes the play just that little bit easier. Rather, for RNG to find that chase down onto the rest of the members. Now RNG, 4 Dragon Infernal Soul. If the bridge wasn't kept between the damage of the carries before, I've got a feeling it probably is now.
Yeah. My goodness, and the 3 items finish for Hwangfong. He is kind of back in the game at this point. Cryan is doing a lot of heavy lifting here for EDG. He got caught in the side lane earlier, but in these fights, I mean, miraculous survival there from him. JJ, in his passive, doing a lot of damage alongside to help Cryan finish those kills off and survive himself. All things considered, despite the soul going to RNG, it's a massive lead in favor of EDG. They are pretty much an item ahead in most of the lanes at this point. Actually, I'd take that back. That's just not even true. But in AD carry, at least, they're massively ahead. But can they finish the job? It felt like they really struggled to finish the job in game number 1. It feels like we're in a similar position once again.
Yep. Those finishing touches. Again, you know, when EDG, in this weird way, if there's any kind of disturbance in how they're playing out the game, it feels like they really start to lose control of the game as a whole. If their game plan isn't kind of going almost one-to-one with what they were expecting or how things were panning out. At the very least, though, they've got a lot of strong scaling options inside of this game, between the Karthus, between Cryan, who just hit full build here, and a rapid-fire cannon, final item to be completed. still have so much to work with.
It's kind of funny, isn't it? Because Misfortune, not a champion that you think of as like a scaling pick, typically speaking. But I will say, you're still a crit 80 carry. You're maybe not going to be a hyper carry like a Jinx. But if that bullet time connects, if you hit multiple people with the bullet time, they're just gone in the late game. It is just going to one-shot everyone. So even with it not being like a classic hyper carry 80 carry style thing, you can still very much be a significant threat in the late game. RNG going to look towards the mid lane, but EDG are starting the Baron off. They'll do this pretty quick. Solo kill trying to buy space. Mega Gnar is about to time out. It's not ideal for EDG. They do not want to fight right now. But they look like they're still going in. Curtain Call goes through. The charm across the front lines. Try and keep them in the play. The bullet time shreds. Just what we were talking about. But there goes the Curtain Call and finishes off the job. That's JJ down. Requiem onto Iwandi. The burn is ticking away, but I don't think it's quite enough. And RNG go 1-for-1 once more.
Bloody hell. How do these fights only end up? I mean, it's a bit slow. So
we're not ready for the rush. I mean, EDG have rushed Baron, what, I think that's 4 times in this series, yeah. Like, they keep on getting away with just sneaking this objective away from RNG. But Jamada, I mean, I don't want to say it again, but Elder's coming up in 2 minutes.
Oh,
for the third time in the series. We're only in game 2. I mean, it feels so messy, and I feel it's only going
to happen again. What can EDG generally do to try and wrestle, you know, some firm control over the game again?
Yeah. Let's talk win cons again. Let's revisit our win conditions for these two cons, because we've got Elder coming up in 90 seconds, and it feels like, you know, the kind of wombo combo is going to suit a fighting river like that.
Yeah, it will. It definitely will for EDG, but they've actually got to find the angle. Solo kill's got flash, so it's always there. And it's just about what follow-up actually comes through and how available Leave is to actually layer a bullet time on top of it, right? We saw in that top exchange where Iwandi almost died, even through the Unbreakable Will, right? So it's not even a bad option just to get the frontliners out of the equation. But it's really, if they can find those carries, that's the real big game-breaking picks that they're looking for. But with this Baron, they want... Hello.
JJ is just going to go down and bust the shot away from the team, so his passive can't do anything. Solo kill dashes out safety to Curtain Call, doing some damage. The Requiem to answer, but I mean, RNG just going to pick essentially a freebie, to be honest.
Yeah. G build up the Mega Gnar bar, but realistically, that Elder's gone.
They lose everything. Elder taken. And that's going to be bullet time used. In the meantime, Iwandi looks for a little bit more. EDG, they've just got to try and escape. They've got to try and run away from the play, but Crying goes down. And RNG, this might just be the window. We're Crying down for a minute. He has been the stalwart carry for EDG. RNG have an opportunity to try and end the game.
Yeah, they do. Straight down mid. We've got another wave on its way as well. Iwandi will tank a little. I feel like the wave clear might just be a bit frustrating. Curtain Call's going to come out and try and prevent some of it. That's a huge chunk of that tower.
Oh, the damage is so insane. EDG, they've got to get back to Fountain and reset before the fight can continue. 30 seconds on Crying. 5-member strong push from RNG. They got the Elder Dragon, and they might just get the game as well. JJ falls. EDG bot lane. He wins it out. Now one last tower remains of EDG's hopes to 2-0 this series. RNG will not go down.
I've honestly had 2 showings they should be very happy and proud about, given how those placements went just a few weeks ago. Just last week, really. And now RNG, 1 win away from finding their first win, series win rather, in this portion of the format, right? The Rumble stage. We wanted to see them get off to a good start. Performance.
People did not expect that to happen, and it was not a clean series. They then have made roster changes, and yet could get a 2-win streak, technically, over EDG. I don't think anyone saw this result coming. I have no idea what's going to come up after the break, but we are in for 3 games. This derby always goes the distance between EDG and RNG. We're going to jump into a break, and then we'll find out how this one ends.
The era of metal has begun, and metal shall prevail. For we know what they have done. 5 legends of our realm who sought to follow the path of their dark musings. But they did not know what they had summoned. Pentakill. To these creatures, there is but one thing left to do. Heavy metal.
My king, how was I supposed to know? Everyone will falter when you die. And as we speak, the army of our enemy is approaching our gates. We cannot fly. Behold, my son, there's a way to save you.
G versus RNG, an absolute classic in the LPL, and it couldn't go any other way than 3 games. I'm joined by Jamada as we head towards the action for game number 3. And my goodness, RNG, I guess they're just going to live and die by the Elder Dragon every single game.
We're having a long game 3, aren't we, Joe?
Yes, we are.
It's just destined to happen, I fear.
Bunker down.
But look, if you haven't got snacks, go get them. If you need a drink, if you need coffee, do it now. Either way, speaking of drinks, juice. Hey, talk about a segue.
Nice.
MVP for that game. And honestly, plays were from EDG and trying to find side.
RNG is not what I was anticipating coming into the patch, but here we go. Crying.
The previous draft, and Juice is just going to first pick that one immediately. EDG get their hands on that Tristana. Corki's obviously still up as well, but they know they don't have to pick it now if they don't want to. RNG have choice of a premier jungle that they would like to give. Geju, we mentioned how he's a very, bit of a solo queue superstar. Spoke about the Lee Sin, spoke about the Grays, but he will land on this Lilia, which should telegraph that Corki here for Tang Yuan. Now EDG, will it just be AP jungle and top for themselves? They match out. Do they want an AD as well, right? Expect JJ's champion pool to be deep enough. Remember, no Fearless anymore. So, Karthus, Zyra, they're still options. They could, of course, both be banned the weight, but I'm sure he'll be able to look a little bit deeper and find something just a bit more creative if he wanted to, and he's not going to. So there's the Karthus and the Corki. It's all pretty telegraphed. The first couple of rotations.
Pretty standard here. RNG even picking in order as well. Everyone picking their own champions, which is always nice to see. Let's see how they continue, though, as we're looking towards the bottom lane. I feel like there's a serious argument here for trying to get rid of things like the Ziggs and the Kai'Sa potentially, with 2 AD carries in. AD carries is not really the right phrase, but AD damage threats in both top and mid lane for both teams.
Exactly. Utility as well. Could just see Ashjin. I mean, it did give EDG, silently, we spoke about how Juice was obviously a very high impact on that Kasante. Huang Fang, Deadly Flourishes, Curtain Calls, it's set up for a lot of aggressiveness to come out from RNG on a positional level.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's something that EDG are, cognizant about, and whether or not they want to take that off the table too. Because I'm just not really feeling it to be a Leave champion in any capacity compared to some of the other carries he's far more willing to play, like the Kai'Sa as an example. Zai as well, I'll give a shout out too, because Leave did play a little bit of it last year during a stint on EDG, and it did get buffed on this patch, and there's a moderate amount of dive in, and it would fit that hyper carry sort of, position to deal with some of that dive. But RNG haven't fully rounded out their comp just yet. The Alistar is moved away from I1D, so they don't want Alistar to be in the game either.
They certainly don't. can't really blame them. It's been rising in priority, hasn't it, across the course of the LPL, and we saw what Ironwondy can do with it, disrupting a lot in those team fights in the previous game. Let's see where RNG go next, though. Support wouldn't be too surprising to see locked in. I mean, Nautilus has been available this entire series and has just been kind of ignored.
Yeah, it's a bit of a head scratcher, isn't it?
He's not been nerfed. I know we're on a new patch of that, but he's not been nerfed or anything.
He's not been directly touched at all. So maybe, you know, Sod's Law, you've said it. We end up with it. This would be fun, but I don't think we're going to see it. Varus had a very long list of adjustments on this patch. And frankly, I'm not sure what my mind is made up on in terms of how it's landed. It felt as though the intent, I suppose, was to kind of push it away from lethality. So we'll see what Leave comes out with. And no, we're not going to get any Nautilus in this opening series. It's not been banned. It's not been picked.
Yeah, weird one.
Am I dreaming? Like, someone pinched me. Either way, you did mention the Ziggs, right? And the option for EDG to remove that away. They opted in for the Alistar. And I mean, not being funny, sleep combo into middle of ultimate from Ziggs.
Yeah.
I don't think you get to play the game. Like, it's pretty rough. So I like this from RNG. A lot of side lane pressure, a lot of tower damage as well, if they can actually allow Huang Feng a little bit of access. So Grubs, I think, would also be a nice additive to that, considering they have the Jax to side lane on top of it. So RNG, I think, have a very functional comp. They're going to have to wait a little bit for items to come online. And I wonder what that means for EDG's early game in terms of where they're actually going to look to put down pressure, right? Varus is still a very strong laner. They're going to have that going for them. It's just about dealing with the wave clear that Huang Feng has in those early stages, and then being able to build off of that, try and find an objective lead, and deny some of those objectives away from the side of RNG.
One of the big issues you can have as Varus is while you're charging a Q, you slow yourself. You can set up for Ziggs to land that poke very easily, but also your whole MO of being able to one-shot the wave and move away, Ziggs kind of just does it a little bit better than you do. So we'll see how the matchup's going to go for Leave. Certainly a bit more of a comfortable champion for him. Some highs and some lows across this series for Leave. But the lows have been devastating. The lows have been moments where RNG could really capitalize. So we'll see how he performs now on a pick that he's a little bit more comfortable on, that he's a little bit more used to. We'll have to see what EDG can do. EDG have been in the driver's seat for most of this series, but in the very late game, RNG managing to turn things around in game number 2. Let's see if they can repeat that performance. It would be a massive upset to start the second stage of the tournament, the Rumble stage, the Nirvana group down in the bottom side. Let's see if RNG can do the impossible and start with a series win for themselves after 2 substitutions starting the day. This would be insane, but I mean, it'd just fit perfectly, wouldn't it, for the LPL?
It'd be a serious dose of whiplash as well for RNG. 1 and 5 in those placements. And it felt like, in many ways, barely scraping out that series win as well. Just by nature of, they've already 0-5 by the time they got that win. Let's see if they can turn that fate around.
Baited a little bit there. They did the whole intro thing and then went back to player shots.
I know. Okay. Far more organized and energetic compared to game 1. Or game 2, rather. So if the first game put them a little bit to sleep, and somehow that second game managed to wake them up, let's hope that Gedru doesn't Lil Wing Lullaby everyone in the crowd and put them back to sleep.
Come on, this isn't TSM we're talking about here. He only has the ability to sleep 5 people here. Do you know, I think that's one of those things that is just never going to be forgotten. I think that moment will live on in eternity in League of Legends. We'll see how this one's going to go down, though. Like you said, a lot of side lane pressure for RNG. This is sort of what they had in game number 1. They had quite a bit of side lane pressure there, but obviously the ability to make picks with that Twisted Fate. Juice going to be on the Jax this time around. And Juice has been a player that we've seen some decent carry performances to some extent. He's mostly been on frontline, but we've seen a little bit of the Rumble coming through, seen a little bit of the Twisted Fate coming through, and it's looked decent from him. Now on the Jax, we'll see what he can bring to the stage.
Yeah, we'll see what he can bring to the stage. A lot of early priority here already, as to be expected. Jax is just such a strong level 1 laner. And I just want to call out that invade from Geju. Really smart. No coverage of wards from EDG placed to catch that invade from Geju. And he kind of does the inverse of the solo queue invade. A lot of the time you'll see junglers that can kill Raptors really quickly go Raptors into the enemy blue buff. Just because the path in is so quick and efficient and you can catch off the enemy jungler on Gromp. He does the inverse. Starts his blue, goes over to the Raptors, takes them away, and it just disrupts JJ's farming pattern. Gets the camp effectively for free, and it's just going to keep him a little bit further away from level 4 for a little bit longer.
Nice little bit of play from Geju, a player that we're keeping our eyes on. For anyone just tuning in, this is his first series. Cryan is in trouble. Tangyuan forces the rocket jump out. Wasn't sure if we were going to get flash for flash there. And we are going to get flash for flash as Tangyuan tries to find the angle. Obviously, Cryan ready for that potential scenario. And it will just be Tangyuan forcing the wave in. Cryan will stick around to grab these last couple of minions. And then we'll likely see a TP from both of our mid laners here.
Yeah, Tangyuan decides that his flash is worth less than Cryan's. Goes in, gets that flash, and we'll see whether or not either of these junglers, right, will be able to punish the summoner spellless mid laners once they do inevitably teleport back in. But they're holding out. They don't want to be the first to base. Tangyuan's got a lot of prio though, a lot more of a stronger early push, and he will look for that reset now. As both these junglers opposite sides, EDG. I don't think a dive is really a possibility with this kind of setup, unless Huang Feng and Iwandi were a lot more chunked out than they are. So they should be safe, and it will just end up kind of being a bit of a neutral map state.
Yeah, not too surprising for this early on into the game. I will say, good start from Tangyuan is actually 10 CS up in the mid lane. Cryan has already TP'd back in. Tangyuan, I think we'll now finally go for a reset. I think there are a few minions there for Cryan still to sweep up, so it won't be too big of a CS lead by the end of it, but I'll have to wait and see. I'd love for the observers to pan back to that mid lane and take a look, but either way, all very good off of that first trade for Tangyuan. Grabs himself a cult, gets the tier as well, so minor advantage there off of the early trading.
Understands that he's going to be scaling for a fair bit of this early laning phase, but winning out so heavily in the trades, as is. And that's just kind of the power of new Corki. All right, such a strong lane bully in many ways.
Do you know, it's kind of new Corki, isn't it? But realistically, it's old Corki. it's old Corki.
As the sayings go, the more things change.
The more they change them back to the way that they were.
Exactly. But it is nice to see that, like, I definitely prefer this version of Corki over Poke Corki, and I don't know, if you prefer Poke Corki, then, you know, power to you. You're wrong, but, you know, everyone can have their own opinion. Such is the world. So, we'll see what damage Tangyuan can get out. Corki, all in all, throughout this series has been absolutely spectacular in terms of what it's been able to put out for these two teams, respectively. As Geju, looking for a mid lane play. Knows that ward's there, though. We'll just opt to clear it, rocket jump out, and again, it's just the strength of Tristana. So much safety, but both these junglers angling up for the grubs. Solokill's basing, though. He will, of course, teleport back, but that wave will likely be shoved out by Juice very, very quickly to try and make sure they've got numbers. So I think the grubs are looking okay for RNG for the 3v3. The problem is Winx made his rotation up here way sooner than Iwandi has.
Solokill gets out of dodge, but with Juice shoving this wave in very efficiently means that he can move over towards these grubs. JJ will get the first one. Don't know if Juice moving in will be able to sway the tide for the side of RNG. EDG trying to group as a 4, and Juice ends up being their target, but RNG in the meantime just turned back onto the grubs. Moving in now as it's a smite out from Geju. Both in fact, JJ's smite is available, so that should be 2 for the side of EDG. And now the fight, Iwandi finds the knockup, but it's buffered. Juice dives in onto Wink, but Wink's still surviving. Pulls him into the play and gets the knockup. The counter-strike was valuable, but not quite enough. Cryan with a T1 emote in the middle of the fight as he looks for Geju as well, who's stuck in the mix. Gets a bit of damage down. The 5v5 out of nowhere, and EDG come out on top.
The damage just isn't there for RNG right now, and EDG take full advantage of that. Find 2 kills off the back of the exchange, get 2 grubs as well. Really good stuff from EDG, and it's just that first move from Wink, leave, forced to flash out from the knockup from Iwandi. Otherwise, he too could have very easily lost his life without that ultimate, which he only now just got. So EDG do suffer at least a small loss inside of Leaf Summoner Spell, but still 2 kills, 1 onto the Tristana for Cryan. It's going to feel really damn good as we get a look at the play. And like you say, you know, Juice, a fair bit of value out of the Counter-Strike, but the problem still lies in RNG just don't really have the damage to burst through anyone, and Wink's flash as well just gets him out of dodge, make sure that there's no follow-up anywhere else. And eventually it's just a bit of a separation from RNG. And again, Tangyuan and Iwandi as a duo just don't have the CC and the damage combo just yet. They need those items to come in.
Cryan showing his colours as a big fan of Faker there in the mid lane with the T1 emote off of the first blood. 1-0-1 now on that Tristana after a really, really rough start to the game. Tangyuan winning those early trades. It is now Cryan that's massively ahead. You can see a big lead in the pot lane for Leave as well. Things looking good for EDG, which has been the case in all 3 games now to start off. It's just how things continue and whether or not EDG can actually leverage these leads. That's where we've seen the team struggling to continue to find impact. I want to quickly point out as well, Leave actually go for the on-hit Varus build here, so it won't be the lethality. We'll be looking to be the one to break through a front line, although not exactly the biggest front line on the side of RNG.
No, not necessarily. I think this is, you know, one of those games where probably as that Varus wouldn't have minded being poke at all. But again, plethora of changes, number-wise, to Varus' passive, his W, his base stats. I think, for the most part, have shifted him out of that lethality play pattern, though it's probably still playable. I just haven't tested it out everything myself personally. And we've not actually seen any 14-13 gameplay.
No.
You know, in a major region, it's the first day that we'll be seeing it, so still testing out, ironing out some of those kinks in terms of where that pick will lie in terms of its build paths.
And they, I mean, on the patch notes, they did say that the goal was to make both versions of the build a little more viable. Dive at the top side, and they make it look easy. Get you setting that one up, and Juice grabs the kill. That's exactly where you want that gold, and look at this. With the grub on top, Juice will be able to grab himself a second plate as well.
Yep, good play. And RNG just setting up a win condition, right? In this mid-game, Juice is going to be pivotal to providing pressure that EDG are going to have to find an answer for. You would anticipate that Crying should be that answer, right? Tristana on a side lane, wave clear's good. Jax should struggle to outright kill the Tristana in the sense of how much safety she has, right? But if he ever remains on top of her for too long, certainly Cryan will find himself in a lot of trouble. But yeah, this dive, so easy. A lot of burst damage between the two there. Once solo kills asleep, there's not much you can really do about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if Pathmaker was on cooldown. I assume you can do that onto the Lily asleep. I'm not a big Cassante player myself, but I don't know.
I feel like the sleep would interrupt the channel, so yeah. Either way, I don't think it gets him out. I think he would probably still die.
He probably
Though
still
that damage
dies
reduction
anyway.
at the start, you never know. And we'll never know, because he didn't do it. So
I just see Cassante in a dive situation and assume that he gets 2 kills. Like that's
Yeah.
my
Yeah, that's
experience
fair.
of this champion. Nice little combo of the stun into root. And solo kill gets a bit of revenge for what we just saw on the top side. Leave gets a bit of time on the tower as well. 5 grubs for EDG. They will melt that tower Crying. Oh boy, this is a dangerous place to be. Buster shot available, flash available. Crying's going to look for his way out. Will survive.
yeah, with Gedju making his way down here as well. It's just very, very, very spooky. 2-man, he could think about making an outplay. 3 people with that Lilia, certainly not, especially as the Lilting Lullaby comes online. Teleport from solo kill just to help defend. Ultimate to clear out
Ooh, it's not enough.
some of that wave, but it's not enough.
Oh, hang on. TP in the mid lane. Charm comes on through. Stun to follow it up. I mean, these kills are so one-sided on both sides here. Great bit of map play out from RNG to punish JJ trying to clear in the mid lane.
Yeah, just trying to make do with what they can with this map state, right? RNG, they postured for a bot play onto Cryan. Cryan didn't bite, didn't give him it. Goes towards the mid lane. They find JJ, get a kill, get another plate. And they are just trying to trade, but EDG are still out ahead for now.
Oh,
As
crying.
I say that, crying.
No buster shot now. Has the
Internally.
flash. No minions here. Tangyuan tanking. No, Iwandi tanking. And gets himself out of dodge. Crying goes down. Finishes off that Kraken Slayer, but still another kill for EDG. Much faster pace in this one, which I'm all aboard for. Juice is just sort of on the wrong side of the map. Not ideal for him. And that's going to be a kill into the pocket of JJ. Not a great target to be given a kill over to either.
No, I was going to ask how did he get there, but then I took a look at Leave, and I saw he has no flash and no cleanse, and he's walking out of base. So I have a sneaking suspicion, whilst this play was going on from RNG, Juice did some juicing. Probably found himself a solo kill up there. I'm sure the observers will give us a picture-in-picture or a full-blown replay of that, and it's on timing, really, isn't it? Let's see. Does Leave stop his base? He does, because Juice walks in, sees him on the ward, and it's just a long chase down.
It just, yeah, keeps going. Actually, somehow gets the stun.
Yeah, hitbox, a little bit deceptive there. Counter-Strike, like, clips his leg.
I mean, you've been outplayed there, haven't you, really? Iwandi has also been outplayed. Lots of ability for counterplay here in League of Legends today, as EDG managed to get an answer. This has been more kills than the previous games. I'm not sure it's been any cleaner from either team. This is getting messier as the series goes on.
It's a strange game, because all of the kills are basically happening in, like, cross-map fashion, which I complain about that a lot, actually. You know, like, I feel like the art of the cross-map has died in recent years, Joe. Feels like philosophically the teams just aren't mentally there for it right now, you know? But this game has just been nothing but cross maps, right? Teams trying to etch out some gold from either side of the map, and you know, individuals trying to squeeze out whatever they can on some of these weak side plays.
Scruffy just absolutely livid about the cross map play going on here. Yeah, he's not.
Yeah, he's not happy at all.
Scruffy was a big enjoyer of good cross map play back in the day. I'd say back in the day, like literally, what, like 2 years ago, if that. But yeah, it's been a bit of a weird one. Now EDG want to continue the way it's been going as they look towards a Drake. Juice will retreat in the bottom side, so I don't think they'll see an angle to dive there. Bomb comes in from Hwangfong, but will be a little bit early. Was blind in his defense, so not too surprised to see that one. Cloud Soul on the cards.
I don't think I've been less excited to see a Cloud Soul in a very long time. And I'm one of the Cloud Soul guys, man. I'll show that till I die.
Hey, Rakan can use it.
Rakan can use it, but you know, I agree. Yeah, see, buddy, I agree. It's a boring soul, this game, I fear. Second charge will come out. How much trouble is JJ in for taking this charge?
Well, he's been charmed immediately, knocked up immediately, but the rest of the gang is on board. Wink protects his jungler, and they will get away with it. Was it worth it just to chunk a tower? I'm not so sure. Depends if they get out scot-free, I suppose. Hwangfong trying to threaten in the mid lane, and will get the tier 1 for his trouble. So, all things considered, it's a tier 1 for a tier 1 at the end of the day.
Yeah, but you just have to feel, you know, the mid lane tier 1 is always more valuable in these kind of exchanges, right? Being able to catch a wave high up in the middle of the lane, I always feel like a broken record when I explain this, but it's such a core fundamental. If you can catch waves high up, just saving those couple of seconds, right, really does make the difference in being able to find that setup onto a side lane, onto an objective, and then just making the game really awkward. You suffocate out your enemy just by virtue of being able to get that wave just a little bit quicker. So RNG have that to work with, and EDG are going to have to do their due diligence in defending this area of the map now to ensure that people can catch that wave very, very safely.